Hey everybody, welcome to DBS Films Podcast. My name is Kellen. With me as always, my brother Brennan. Together we make movies with DBS Films. Today's episode, we're going into part 2 of a day-by-day breakdown of our newest feature film that we just got done filming. So you heard in the first one, we kind of went through the first half of the shoot. Now we're basically going to pick up the pace with the rest of the big action. We had the climax, we had a few other things, and we'll get into detail about how the weather turned against us, unfortunately. But again, it was an absolutely amazing shoot, and I'm already claiming it. I'm saying this is our best production yet. So really, really overall, very good stuff. But in this episode, we're just basically going to highlight each day, what we kind of did and how it went. As always, be sure to take a look at our Discord channel online. And also, Horror in the Forest could be out right now. And if it is, be sure to go ahead and leave a review. Go ahead, watch it, tell your friends to watch it. Because again, the more you support DBS, the more movies we get to make and the more we get to cast from our Discord community. So with that being said, we are picking up after the big momentum boost of the intros with the hunters. I remember going back, editing that together and just being blown away with how good it looks. I mean, again, there's a lot of really, really awesome things in that, and a huge, huge shout out to those hunters as they did a fantastic job. So today, where we were picking up, we have the introduction of our friend Jeb, and huge shout out to Billy. He came in like a rock star, ready to go, and he really brought to life this hermit action. And again, there's a lot. This is kind of, you were mentioning it earlier before we even started the podcast, basically about how what's unique with this movie is we have a lot of characters, and a lot of characters really end up driving the pace because you're kind of introduced to new people, whether it's Ricky, whether it's Jeb, whether it's the park ranger, whether it's these campers. It just really kind of moves when you have different people, showing up to this one. But Jeb really gave our hermit character to life. If you kind of see, we have we've kind of noticed that out there crazy, loose cannon type archetype is a really good one for the horror movies, and we've been leaning into it. But I really do think that Jeb gave a lot of life to this character, and really, he's kind of the backbone of the plot progression from that, sort of like that midpoint. Basically, they're looking to find Jeb, and then they do find Jeb. He basically, reiterates the plot, and he kind of gets them from point A to point B of the climax. So really, the first day was kind of highlighting a lot of the different, smaller cogs that were being put in there. And then from there, we have basically the next day where we ended up getting a lot of the special effects from it. But, that first day having Jeb on set, kind of getting all those pieces together, I was editing a lot for this one just to kind of make sure we had a lot of things together. But what was your, thoughts on that process? I know you came back and said, hey, it was a very, very smooth shoot working with Billy.
Yeah, it goes to show you, if you're an actor and you don't get chosen for a role, to always be friendly and always be in communication. Don't get your head down, because Billy was number 2 for Nelson, and he didn't get that part for Nelson. But he was such a pleasure to talk with, and he was always emailing me saying, hey, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate that. If anything else comes up, let me know. Well, DBS, we make a lot of movies. And, I sent him a message, like whenever we do any auditions, I go back through my Google Sheet and say to all the people that I've worked with before that maybe not have had a role or had a role in the past, hey, you want to audition for this? And his audition was fantastic. And so we brought him in for this one. He could have been upset about not getting the Nelson character. He could have been down, but he wasn't, and he was an absolute blast. He wins the DBS Most Efficient Actor Award. He was an absolute beast. He came in there, he got I don't think he messed up anything. Like literally all his takes were absolutely flawless. He probably cut down and got us right back on track because he was so good at everything he did. Pre-production was phenomenal. The wardrobe that he worked with, he was the only one where we had like back and forth as far as like wardrobe, because it's just such a unique character. I did not want a Nelson character. I did not want another Roger character. And I think if you look at his wardrobe, we did a very, very good job of just making sure that everything is on point. It gave his character dynamic range, and I thought we nailed it. And his delivery, his dialogue, everything that he did was phenomenal. I couldn't ask for anything better. That pretty much was the character that was in my head, and he brought it to life, and he did a fantastic job where you kind of feel for him a little bit, but he's also dangerous, and he's also increasing the stakes right away. The whole goal of that character was, in Horror in the Forest, you don't meet Nelson until probably about the 40-minute mark. This one's going to be about the 30-minute mark. And I think the stakes are raised. he's going out there hunting Bigfoot, and I think you're still getting the same tension. So I'm really excited to see how it plays out. But he came in here, he got the job done, he did a phenomenal job, and we picked up time with him. We had allocated more time with this actor, and he got it done in maybe half the time, 75% of the time. And he was just an absolute blast to work with. The ending scene where his guts are ripped out and he's spitting out blood is very, very difficult. He has to hold that blood in his mouth. And we did multiple takes, take after take after take after take. He didn't complain. I even sent him an email saying, "Hey man, I'm like sorry for making you do all that stuff." And he said, "Not a problem at all, man. I am back if ever you need me again." And that's kind of the attitude that we want from our actors.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, as soon as I picked him up, Billy was a blast, and you can really kind of see that attitude that people have. And it is one of the reasons why we do lean on the Discord, is because they are very passionate about it. But again, we found Billy from the backstage casting that we had for prior picks. We brought him back for the audition here, and he absolutely crushed it. And you could tell that passion, you could tell that enthusiasm, and he did a really, really great job in bringing that character to life, as you mentioned. Again, he is a very critical role here, and where we're at, we always need as much time as we possibly can. So having him being able to help us pick up some more time, having him being able to do all of that on that day, really kind of smooth it out. That really put us in a good position. So, it was really just a lot of connecting the dots for that Wednesday. Thursday, again, is going to be the next day, and that's really a bigger day. That is where we did have to basically have Billy rip his guts out. So we had some more cause and effects details and special effects for that. But also on Thursday, we had Carl, who is a DBS Discord member, comes in and slayed that park ranger role. I will say that was a long take for a new actor. So Carl is, newer, but he came on set. He really gave that park ranger just that right elements that we were looking for when it came to, being able to basically just, again, having more people that they're running into. The movie's just so dynamic. You're seeing new people, you're seeing different things. And, he had a pretty important scene in the sense of saying them, hey, the trail's off there, setting the stakes that don't go out there, mentioning that people get missing. All of these different things are really, really needed. And you could do this in a boring way where, you could have someone either read that the trail's closed, or, they could have a smaller scene with the park ranger who just kind of mentions these things. But, he showed up on set. He did a really, really good job. And I think, again, people are gonna, I think he plays that part for the park ranger very, very well. And I think it was just really well executed in the sense of being interesting, being a dynamic scene to see, the missing posters, all of those things. So, what were kind of your thoughts on Carl's performance and showing up? And, again, each of these characters really adds a good amount of spice to this movie, and it allows them to kind of go from character to character to character as they're progressing.
Yeah, and he did a great job in pre-production. He did a great job as far as notes, understanding his character, understanding his dialogue. But when I went there and we started blocking out the scene, it became very apparent that this is a very difficult scene. It was a lot of dialogue. We're doing it as a oneer. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of cues. There's a lot of camera blocking. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be very, very difficult for someone who doesn't have a lot of acting experience, but is very enthusiastic. It's just very hard to hit all these beats and to do all this stuff. And man, he came in there and killed it. We had so many good takes over and over and over again. We had gone out there earlier because my concern was that we weren't going to get this and we would have to work on it till the sun came down, because I wanted it to be sort of like golden hour. And we went out there and we got a lot of takes even before that sun started setting. So he was way ahead of schedule. He did a great job. He brought in the interesting dynamics of the scene where he was kind of interacting with Drew a little bit, and he brought in the lore, and he was a mysterious character, and there's some really good dialogue stuff in there, and he absolutely killed it. It's just absolutely perfect. I couldn't ask for a better role. He was well prepared. He nailed his lines right away. Did a fantastic job. And that's a hard scene. That scene was probably top 5 in difficulty as far as just dialogue for this movie. Very hard scene. Anytime you have to block, you have a long, that's about a 2-page, 3-page dialogue scene as a oneer is difficult. And that's like the one thing with the found footage, it's a double-edged sword. If you get it, you're saving a ton of time in post because you can just drop it on the timeline. But if you start to struggle, if everyone can't get it going, then you don't have the option of chopping it up. You have to get it. And that can take hours and hours and really slow you down. So he came and did a great job. The scene looks great. The dynamics are there. It looks professional. It looks like a ranger station. So, once again, shout out to Cody's RV for helping us out. But I mean, it was probably drawn up better outside of having like an indoor ranger station location, which I don't think they exist in Florida. I think it was the best of what we had, and I think it adds to the costume design, adds to the prop design, adds to the locations, which I think is really cool because we really want to make Drew and Grace work for this movie from start to finish. It should be a hero's journey, and I think we do that through a ton of different locations and a ton of different characters.
Yeah, I mean, again, I was going to mention that one of the biggest things was found footage is brutal, 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 brutal because you cannot cut around. Cinematic, no worries, man. We got you. Say that line again. Say it again. Say it different. We'll cut back to it. We got you. It's super easy. Found footage, on the other hand, you have to nail it. I think the thing that impressed me the most about Carl was, it's one thing, in my opinion, to have the dialogue memorized exactly word for word, and just kind of regurgitate it like perfectly every single time. He was ebbing and flowing with the things that he said, but nailing the points and adding beneficial things. So, whether it was like, the condescending to like, I'm sure you're a good hiker, this is an easy trail. There were so many little things where there's a lot of risk to that as an actor, in my opinion, because you might miss one of our beats or something like that, but every single time he was just bringing that heat. And again, this is someone who, they're new. They flew in, we got them on set. This is the first time on camera. He also probably had the biggest audience. Shout out to Cody's RV. They were having a good time watching us film this, so he had basically a good like 10-person audience watching him the very first time, and he showed up, he delivered, and he crushed that scene. And again, I think all of these little scenes adding together just become better and better and better. So like, really huge shout out to Carl again. I was very, very impressed with that because I was worried. I saw that dialogue. I was like, oof, we're not really setting him up for a friendly time here, but he showed up and he absolutely crushed it. So we were able to finish with that. As soon as the night fell, we were able to wrap our good friend Billy with Jeb. And really the big one here was kind of getting to that climax, getting him running around there. And, again, anytime you're filming in the forest, it is not easy. There is a lot of issues with filming in the forest, just logistics, keeping people hydrated. You need things. You got to go run places. You're kind of isolated out there. So, again, huge shout out to our team and the morale of the team of just being so high for that. But we were basically running around with Jeb, hunting down Bigfoot. We got that. And then the big climax was really, as you mentioned earlier, Tegan having the gut rip, and Jeb holding that, or Billy holding that, the blood and everything, and getting a good take with that. And this was at like 5-6 in the morning. This was pushing the sunlight, so to have that energy and to have that done. But I think it was really one of our, again, this is just another amazing, absolutely amazing scenes that we have. Looking at it, just the way that it pans out, it's just incredibly action packed. So what are kind of your thoughts on that night, being a heavier night, but again, a really good execution on everyone involved?
Well, it's just a shout out to the crew because not only was it long hours, but there was rain delays in this. The first 2 nights were fine, the last 5 rained. And so I think on this one, the storm rolled in at 12 and we had to take everyone back to the location. And you had 2 hours of downtime. And to get yourself in a place where you need to be for a horror movie is very difficult. To get yourself in that place and then fall flat and have to relax at 2-3 in the morning and then get your energy all the way back up again is almost impossible. But all these actors did it. So real shout out, because like, if you're on a DBS set, I really do not like to have them stop moving. The minute that they stop moving, they start to think about how tired they are, how hungry they are. Why are they doing this? This is long hours. I've been up for 12 hours in a row. And once you start to get that self-talk going, your brain's like, hey, man, just like phone this in, get your paycheck and leave. And that did not happen at all in this set. I think everybody, put in a lot of effort. They're able to recapture that energy. And, there's always a fun, fast-paced energy to this shoot, which is great. And it's something that was needed because, the rain really did kind of hurt us a little bit here. We lost a lot of hours just having to either wait in the golf carts, to wait in the car, or to wait back at the Airbnb for this stuff to come through. It was difficult. This is the first time we had to encounter this problem in 14 movies. And it's something that, now, we talk about why I get nervous is because I know everything that could go wrong will just add something else to the list. The story of the century rolling through, and, we can't get this thing done.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think having the stormy season for Florida, usually when you have storms, they blow through and then they're done. But we encountered quite the different ones there. So that was a massive shout out again to everyone involved in just the production there. Billy was wrapped, and now we bring in our friend Sab from the Discord as well, coming in as Ricky. And again, I think it just goes back to what you were mentioning. There are so many dynamic characters where, like, Ricky is just the definition of shady when it comes to the role that he played as Sab. Very, very interesting. He's kind of that connecting point from from basically them camping. It's almost kind of like there's a handoff of these main characters as they're going through this journey. And really, Sab is the one saying, like, it's all the hunt, like, you gotta watch out for the hermit, you gotta watch out, this is not safe, but hey, I'll take you there if you pay me. And he really ended up playing, he had a harder scene as well too with the campfire. That's again another long take, a lot of beats to hit. He woke up at 3 a.m, was on set at like 9 p.m, so it was a very, very long day for him, but he showed up and he delivered with that role. And I think, again, just having all of these different characters, having all of them being able to play on this is really, really important. So we had him deliver basically all of the Ricky stuff earlier in the day, and then that night things got really, that's, I think, when we started feeling the crunch of trying to get things there and trying to get things crunched up, because we had basically the Sab special effect, we had the bear trap special effect, and then we also I think we had Sab and Bear Trap. That's the two that we did, because then the next night was the tent. So it was, again, the team, fantastic job with everyone involved. It is not an easy set. Everyone involved was kind of moving, getting everything done. Tegan, fantastic job on the special effects for this one. But this was a very big scene, and, Sab was able to deliver on Ricky. And then on top of that, he had very good death curls when it came to getting his prosthetic and his eventual demise. I think he really does a great job of, setting up Ricky. And what I'm really starting to like about DBS now is we're adding more characters, but we're killing them too. And I think that's just something that you really want to have in a horror movie.
Yeah. His scene was very difficult. Once again, so Warner in a found footage movie with dynamic camera motion. So it was very difficult to get that stuff done. He got it done, and I really liked his his pre-production and his understanding of the character. Made it very clear that I did not want another Roger character. I wanted something with a different spin. I wanted this guy to be creepy. I wanted him to be a little bit more mysterious. And I think he did that. It's like, what is this guy's objective? What is he trying to do? What's his motivation? What's his goals? Why is he hanging out here with Grace and Drew? And when they're very vague, that sometimes he's kind of antagonizing them, and other times he's kind of like a salesman because he's trying to guide them for a fee through this woods to kind of find the hermit character. So it's a very unique character. There's a lot of dynamic stuff in there. But once again, we were up against the clock. There's rain coming. At this point, I knew that the next day was going to be rained out. And I think that added to my stress level a little bit, because I was like, all right, well, we got to get as much stuff done tonight so that, we can at least have a shot tomorrow if the storms kind of come through and don't rain constantly. And the storms that had been coming through would come in and they'd rain for an hour and they'd be gone and would be fine. So I was like, all right, well, maybe that's what's going to happen the next day. But I was like, all right, we got to get as much stuff done so that if we have an hour or two rain delay the final day, that we can finish this movie. So there's a lot of time pressure. There's a lot of stress. But, he came through. He did a great job. His death scene was fantastic. Shout out to Cause and Effect. She did a great job on that one. And I think we did a good job of killing the characters very well, showing glimpses of the creature. Because once again, you have to be careful with how much you show. I think we did a good balance of showing him versus not showing him enough, which is what we do with Sid. I think that the Bigfoot people are going to appreciate that, and we did it in very clever ways. So I was very happy with Sav's performance. I think he brought a really cool character to this because we really couldn't do a jump scare here. There was no jump scare. There's nothing here other than you're going out in the woods to try and look for this hermit with this really kind of creepy character. And I think that's what we got. And so I'm very happy with it. I think it moves the story forward, develops the lore in a creative way. And I thought we did a very good job with this one.
Yeah, and let's talk about, some help when it comes to Bigfoot themselves. Really having Evan out there helping out with his character, coming in there. Evan, DBS legend, one of the first ever super fans. If you're looking on YouTube right now, I'm pointing to a finger of an amazing Carl fan art, which was the first ever fan art. But he came out there and he did a amazing job delivering his role. And he also helped out a ton when it came to being Bigfoot. And here's the best part about being Bigfoot. You're in a hairy suit in the middle of the forest in Florida. Do you know what that feels like? It's probably like 130 degrees. Dylan as well too. Major props for being able to handle that sauna suit. But Evan came out. He was super fun to work with. Great job. Helped out on set, and he also crushed it too. So shout out to Evan being that Bigfoot character, and again being one of our first ever super fans.
Yeah, Evan did a great job. He came in there in a difficult situation. That suit is hot. It's uncomfortable. We had to do a lot of takes because they're jump scares. We want to make sure we get them. And I mean, his has the potential of being the best jump scare in this movie. I was really happy with how it turned out. I think it's going to really scare people. And I think it's probably the best DVS scare that doesn't really.
That passive scare.
Yeah, it's like a passive. It's not too intense because you see what happens. Ones we always struggle with. They're very hard to do. And I think he came in there and did it. I thought it was a very clever way to do it. I thought he executed really well. And, he did a great job running around out there. He was in other scenes of the movie too, as the actual Bigfoot. So, shout out to him, giving Dylan a little bit of a breather. But, I was really happy with that scene. I think it's going to work really well. I think it's going to keep the audience engaged. I think it's going to be a nice little passive scare. Probably our best passive scare. And man, if it's a bonus and it's the best scare in the movie, then, hats off to you, Evan. You did a great job. Very happy we brought you out.
Again, talk about spooky laugh, man. I don't know where that came from, but he was nailing that. So we had a lot going on here. We had the tent scene, which huge shout out to the tent. I think we learned something with putting a blood pump through the mask because my goodness gracious, did that look vicious. We were able to do that. We were basically wrapping. I would say we were very, very optimistic. Again, the crew was, everyone except for Brendan. Brendan was like, I think it's gonna, storm. So maybe you did that. But realistically, the weather was telling us it's going to be bad. So we have one day left that we're heading into. We had a few things left to do. We had a few major scare or kills at the end. And we had our boy Irish coming back, and he did an absolutely great job. Again, all these unique characters in these woods. So unfortunately, right off the bat, when we started shooting, it started to rain. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained. And basically, we got out there right as it got dark at 9. We waited until about midnight. We went back to the Airbnb. We got a little bit of a breathing room at 2. Irish was a legend. We went right out there. We got Irish's scene, and then it immediately started raining again, which that mean we had to pivot, basically understand what we had to do, and we had to call it. And again, this is filmmaking. Making movies is hard. It really is the case where things come up like this. It was a very fantastic shoot. I mean, honestly, just in itself, the amount of footage and coverage and good coverage we got and different special effects, all of these things were just a huge, huge shout out to the entire team and everyone. But at the end of the day, we did have to go ahead and say, all right, we're going to look to do these pickups on these final scenes. But again, I think there is a silver lining in the sense that we will be able to watch the entire feature. We will be able to, do a double dip in the sense of working on the Roger project and getting those ones too. And all in all, the big thing I look at now when I'm going my way through this rough draft, it's just clearly the best movie we made from everything. Cinematography, it's again, we get better, so it's not a surprise, but this one really was a step up. So again, huge shout out to each and every one of the staff involved. DBS films are not easy. This is not an easy process to make, and you guys absolutely stepped to the plate and crushed it.
Yeah, I mean, the production is absolutely phenomenal. This is Dylan's best work as far as getting the production done. I don't think we could have been more prepared. I thought the pre-production was absolutely phenomenal. I think that just, the rain kind of dampened things. So, it's a blessing in disguise. Yes, it's going to cost me like $4,000 or $5,000 to get the pickups done, and due to the loss of the rain, which kind of puts us in a little bit of a pickle as far as the movies that we have to complete the rest of the year. But I think that, this one's as good as I, could have possibly made it. I think everyone did a great job on this one. I'm really excited to see, the release of Horror in the Forest. I think that we're now getting our cadence. We had Forest of Death release. We're going to have Horror in the Forest release. We're going to have Roger Project and Bigfoot, which could release around the same time. It'd be really interesting. So now you're starting to see the cadence. I'm just really looking forward to seeing, the launch of Horror in the Forest, and, seeing 400 reviews within the first week to really show the growth of the community, and to show, how much support we have. Really get behind this one, because we've invested a lot of money into this community. We flew everybody else, all the actors out from the Discord. That cost a lot of money. So really, if Horror in the Forest is out and you're listening to this, really do us a favor downloading that, getting your friends to download that, and just get as many reviews as possible on there. Because I think we had 96 for Murder House. We had 84 for Forest of Death, which Amazon's kind of acting a little funky then, so that could just be a little blip. But Horror in the Forest is the first one we really leaned into the Discord. We had, I think, 14 people working on that one. We really want to make sure that this model is working. And the best way to do that is just how many super fans do we have? And we count that by the first week. How many downloads and reviews can get? Each one of these things comes back exponentially. And we're forever grateful. So just skip Starbucks for one day. It's $3.99. And just really help us out, because the more reviews, the more downloads, the higher we can get in the charts, the more we can do. We can make more movies. We can fly more people out. I have no problem at all doing this, as long as we're having the backing of the community. So, this shoot was fun. It was difficult. It was hard, but the product is great. We have the momentum. We have the cadence. We have the rhythm. We just got to keep moving forward. So, looking forward to finishing both the Roger Project and this one. Looking forward to the launch of Horror in the Forest, and, looking forward to seeing what the rest of Q3 and Q4 brings this year, as, we kind of wrap it up and, make 2023 the best year we can.
Yeah, I mean, really, again, guys, it's very, very hard. It is a passion project from everyone involved, and it is something that we want to continue to do this model. And like my brother said, the best way to prove this model is to support the launch team. That is by far the number one thing to do. And there is a reason we track it with badges and roles in the Discord. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, when it's, we've established and we have all of this capabilities to make these. We have a studio, so we never have to worry about rain. We make it rain when we want to. Those are all things that we will look back and say, wow, you supported Horror in the Forest. You supported it when we needed it the most, and you will be rewarded for it. So again, $3.99 and a review, it goes a long way to making not only our dreams come true, but everyone else's dreams. The way that we see it is, if you help us now when we need it the most, it is our obligation to help make your dreams come true. And we want to do it. The model's working. It is there. We just need to really step up to the plate with this launch, and we execute on it. Hey, we'll be making more movies. We'll be casting more people. But until then, have a good one.